into Paris's most populated arrondissement, the 15th.
Located in the southwestern corner of the capital, this district doesn't boast a lot of tourist attractions. In fact, Parisians love to joke that this residential and family-friendly arrondissement is the most boring arrondissement of Paris. And as someone who grew up in the 15th, I got that a lot.
But while it might not be as flashy or trendy as other parts of town, the 15th gives you a great taste of real everyday Paris.
Join us for this tour of the 15e arrondissement de Paris.
The 15th might not have a lot of monuments or landmarks, but it does have a lot of parks. The biggest is the one where we are right now, the Parc André Citroën.
For centuries, it was home to a settlement full of gardens and windmills known as Javel. And in the late 18th century, a chemical factory was built here to produce a newly discovered disinfectant bleach, what the French still call eau de Javel.
The area went on to be home to dozens of factories. The biggest belonged to one of the most influential French car makers of all time, the man who gave this park his name.
André Citroën began his career making munitions for World War I. He produced millions of shells in his new factory on Quai de Javel in the 15th, repurposing it to make cars after the war. In 1919, Europe's first mass-produced automobile rolled off the assembly line, the Citroën 10 HP Type A. The cars grew in popularity thanks to PR stunts, like skywriting over the 1922 car show in Paris, or using the Eiffel Tower as a giant billboard. By the early 1930s, Citroën's low-cost, low-maintenance cars made it the biggest automaker in Europe, second in the world only to Ford. Tens of thousands of workers filled the enormous production facility that sprawled out from Javel. It changed the face of the 15th, creating entire neighborhoods around the factory gates. Citroën's true masterpiece was the revolutionary traction avant, the world's first ever car with front-wheel drive. But rising costs forced him into bankruptcy, and he finally lost the plant to the Michelin Tire Company. The Citroën name, though, lived on through the success of cars like the iconic Deux Chevaux or the DS. As for the original factory in the 15th, it moved out of Paris in the 70s, leaving the site to later welcome the gardens and fountains and giant tethered balloon in the park that bears his name. The balloon at the Parc André Citroën is a great way to get a unique perspective of Paris, depending on the weather.
From there, you can take a look at a cluster of tall, modern buildings of the Beaugrenelle district of the 15th, which has a little bit of a New York feel.
But if you really want a spectacular view of the capital, head to another landmark in this district, the Tour Montparnasse.
The Tour Montparnasse is the tallest skyscraper within the Paris city limits, and it's easy to spot because it's the only one.
Locals say it sticks out like a sore thumb in the beautiful skyline of Paris. Ah, Paris, with its harmonious and human-scale horizon, interrupted only by the beloved Eiffel Tower and a black monolith that refuses to blend in, the Tour Montparnasse. Over 50 years after its inauguration, Parisians are torn between indifference and disdain for the tower.
J'ai tellement l'habitude de la voir que je l'ai oubliée, en fait.
Elle me paraît plutôt vieille moche.
And yet, it was built at the start of the 1970s as a symbol of modernity. Paris authorities wanted to spruce up the rundown Montparnasse neighborhood and attract businessmen. The old Montparnasse train station was torn down, leaving room for Paris's first skyscraper, the first in Europe. The 210-meter, 59-floor office block opened in 1973. But even then, Parisians were divided.
Quand j'ai vu la gare se démolir et puis construire une tour immense, j'ai dit, bah tiens, ils vont défigurer Paris.
Oh, je trouve que c'est affreux. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez faire? C'est affreux. Et si ça tombe?
Vous trouvez ça beau?
bah, c'est pas mal que ça soit comme ça ou autrement. On est dans le modernisme, on est dans le 20e siècle.
Montparnasse's visual jolt set off a planning reaction in the capital. Just a few years after the tower's completion, Paris imposed strict height limits in much of the city. These days, the tower draws some 1.2 million visitors a year. Many head to the 56th floor, where the observation deck and restaurant offer a breathtaking 360-degree view of the capital.
On nous avait dit que c'était la plus belle vue de Paris. Et je pense qu'on n'est pas déçus.
C'est vrai que d'en haut, la vue, elle est... Waouh, c'est vraiment impressionnant.
Ironically, it's the one place in Paris where you cannot see the tower itself. For more classic architectural charm, head to Paris's most cinematic bridge, the Pont Birakem, featured in films like Last Tango in Paris, Inception, and countless selfies from tourists around the world, as it features one of the best views of the Eiffel Tower.
The bridge also gives access to one of the best-kept secrets in the 15th, l'île aux Cygnes, the island of swans.
This long and narrow artificial island is home to one of 6 official replicas of the Statue of Liberty in Paris. This is the biggest one.
It faces west toward New York, symbolically linking the U.S. and France together.
And from the statue, you can get a view of our next destination, a French cooking school with an international reputation, the Cordon Bleu. Chef Briffard, thank you so much for being with us today. You're the head of Le Cordon Bleu Paris Institute. Can you tell us a little bit about the term Cordon Bleu, what it means?
The origin of the Cordon Bleu comes from King Henry III of France, the son of Catherine de' Medici. He created an order that honored his most valiant knights by decorating them with a beautiful blue ribbon. Apparently, they ate very well back then, and the Cordon Bleu became synonymous with good food.
And what about the school Le Cordon Bleu? Can you tell us more about its history?
The Cordon Bleu Paris School was born in 1895. It was created by journalist Marthe Distel. She was really ahead of her time, as there were no official cooking schools before then. Chefs learned on the job. She was a feminist, and she really set herself apart, as she wanted to be different from the chefs working at all the great restaurants and hotels, creating really high-level gastronomy. She wanted to make and teach a simpler kind of cooking for middle-class housewives.
Today, the Cordon Bleu is almost more famous outside of France than inside France. Why?
It was mostly thanks to Julia Child. She moved to France just after the war and immediately fell in love with oysters, white wine, all those good things. She signed up for classes at the Cordon Bleu, and when her husband was transferred back to the United States, she started to teach French cooking. She wrote a cookbook, and she was really the first to make French cuisine accessible to Americans. The 1954 movie Sabrina, where Audrey Hepburn played a cooking student in Paris, helped as well.
Paris, of course, is so famous for its food. Why has it become the capital of gastronomy?
It's always been a part of French history. French kings made it part of their political will to hold food to the same high standards as art, painting, sculpture, music, or literature. French cuisine had to be at the same level. Even today, the French gastronomic meal is part of UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage. That's to say, the way the French value communal dining, taking their time to eat and enjoying the time together, spending hours and hours at the table. Even when I was a kid in my home region of Burgundy, at my grandparents' house, we would spend 7 or 8 hours at the table eating only fresh and locally produced food.
So France is really the capital of French food around the world, and Paris is the capital of France. And you're going to teach us a typically Parisian recipe today.
Le croque-monsieur. Le croque-monsieur is a typically Parisian recipe.
Préparation très parisienne.
It was invented on the Boulevard des Capucines near the Paris Opera in 1910. I'm going to make 2 different versions, the traditional croque-monsieur with white bread, butter, Gruyere or Comté cheese, and jambon de Paris or Paris ham, and with more butter, and voila! Then there's the Cordon Bleu croque-monsieur, which is a bit more gourmand or fancy. That's with a nicer bread with seeds made in our bakery here.
And so the Cordon Bleu croque-monsieur is the most Parisian of all the croque-monsieurs, is that right?
Yes, the most Parisian and the most gourmand or delicious because this one has buckwheat butter, watercress, ham, special mustard from Meaux, and in the winter I add a little bit of black truffle that permeates through the whole thing, and I can tell you in December it's ideal. And the priority, of course, is this ham, the jambon de Paris.
Is that an Eiffel Tower on
It is. You can see it marked the Prince of Paris with an Eiffel Tower. That's the symbol of real quality ham. Then we can put an egg on top. Look how pretty that is. And there you have what we call a croque madame. And all that is thanks to that restaurant owner near the Paris Opera who ran out of baguette one night. He replaced it with soft white bread and created the croque-monsieur.
So good.
Wow, ouais.
Ça vous plaît?
Not bad.
Pas mal.
Allez, go.
If that inspired you to cook up a storm, you can head to one of the many outdoor food markets in the 15th arrondissement to pick up some fresh ingredients.
Famous ones include under the overhead metro near the bustling Rue de Commerce or the market here on the Rue Saint-Charles.
This is a great place to get a taste of real life in the 15th arrondissement. It's great for people watching and one of the many interesting facets of this district.
Thank you so much for joining us for this visit of Paris's 15th arrondissement, and we'll see you soon for another stop in one of Paris's many incredible neighborhoods.